podcast listeners. On this episode of LISI's All the Things podcast, we share our first 3 Things installment of the year, and we're taking it back to the basics with 3 things I learned this week. I am your host, Taryn Elliott, the Director of Client Success and Marketing at LISI. As some of you might know, LISI's CMO and CMBDO, Robyn Addis, recently published her annual list of goals, 23 goals to be exact, and there are a few terms in that post that I needed to look up. In this episode, I talk about having a stronger focus on environmental, social, and governance strategies, or ESG, what it means to be a genuinefluencer, and ways to achieve position 0 on search engine results pages. So here is 3 things, this week's episode of LISI's All the Things podcast. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome to our first LISI live stream of 2023. I am Taryn Elliott, the Director of Client Success and Marketing at LISI, and I will be your host today for 3 things. We are going to do this 3 things as quickly as possible because I am excited for 3 things to get to for my weekend. But just because it is going to be quick doesn't mean that it's not going to be important and valuable. So the 3 things format that we use originated out of a 3 things I learned this week that Robyn started probably a year and a half ago. And we are getting back to that format this week in 3 things I learned this week. As some of you might know, we just launched a blog called 23 and 23. And every year Robyn writes a list of 23 goals for that year or 22 goals for 2022 and so on and so forth. And this year, as we were preparing to put her 23 and 23 blog live, there were 3 different things that I actually had to Google that she was talking about. And I thought those are the 3 things that I would share this week on this podcast and live stream. So the first thing is ESG. That stands for environmental, social, and governance. There has been a big focus on ESG lately. You'll see a lot of information from the investing perspective, but I'm going to talk more about what ESG can mean for your organization. And specifically, ESG is something that LISI is continuing to work on for our organization in 2023, as you will see referenced in Robyn's blog. So basically, ESG means making efforts to make the world a better place as you're also generating profits for your business. McKinsey and Company has a lengthy article on ESG, and they took steps to define what each of the letters stands for. So environmental, as defined by McKinsey, include the energy your company takes in, the waste it discharges, the resources it needs, and the consequences for living beings as a result of that. The E also encompasses carbon emissions, climate change, and it's really looking at how every company uses energy and resources, every company affects and is affected by the environment. So that's the E. Basically, it is how your corporation behaves as a shepherd of the environment. Next is social, and McKinsey addresses social as how your relationship with your company and the reputation it fosters interacts with the people and institutions in the communities where you do business. The S includes things such as labor relations, diversity and inclusion, and every company operates within a broader, diverse society. So really, the social component is looking at the connections your company maintains with its workforce, with its vendors, with its customers, and with its communities where it operates. And additionally, the impact that it has on all of those people, both in its supply chain and the value that it's provided, and really the company at large. And finally, governance, as defined by McKinsey, looks at the internal system of practices and controls, as well as procedures that your company adopts in order to govern itself, make effective decisions, comply with the law, and meet the needs of external stakeholders. Every company, which is in itself a legal creation, requires governance. So governance is really looking at the leadership of a corporation. This can include things such as executive remuneration, audits, internal controls, and shareholder rights. So it's three very separate and distinct things, but these all are actually really intertwined, not just with your business. No business is outside of any of these bounds, but also with each other. So, environmental could have both an environmental and a social component. Governance, of course, how you are regulated can impact the environmental component as well if you are subject to environmental regulations. So it's really how they all play together and how they all impact your business. There's been a heightened awareness, as I said earlier, but this is something that's here to stay. Not only are businesses finding that ESG is really important for their bottom line, but businesses are finding that this is really important to people for a variety of reasons. This can be important to your talent, both attracting talent and keeping talent within your organization. This can be important to regulators. This can be important to the community, depending on your place in the community. This can be important to shareholders. If you have shareholders, there are a lot of people who are impacted by the approach that you take to ESG. The McKinsey report also states that companies with strong ESG propositions can see top line growth, cost reduction, more positive regulatory and legal interventions, a productivity uplift, and investment and asset optimization. All of these really, really good things for any organization. At LISI, we just look at these three things as the right thing to do. So you will probably be seeing more from us on ESG in the coming year because we are excited to implement even more of that within our organization. The next thing on the three things I learned this week is the term genuinfluencers. So genuinfluencers was a term first defined by trend forecasters WGSN to describe social media stars who use their platforms beyond product placement. So these are influencers who aren't specifically sharing fashion or beauty or even lifestyle content like we traditionally think of with Instagram, but these people are sharing important information and not just sharing it, but looking to spread important information that can keep people up to date on topics that might be affecting them. So a really good example of this is that during COVID-19, a lot of governments were turning to genuine influencers who had a following and engaged audience who also believed in things such as safe hand washing or vaccination or just getting the information out and using these people who were in a place of influence to share information with their audience. So this goes beyond what we've kind of originally thought of and defined influencers as, just people who were showing off or showboating or showing their excess while also promoting products on social media, to make money, whether or not they really believed in them or whether or not people believed that they believed in them. There's also been a little bit of backlash from that in the influencer community, or with the influencer community, I should say, the public in general, who are wanting to see people who are more real and relatable, which is the goal of being a genuine influencer, being real and relatable. They're not trying to be aspirational. People are expecting you to be authentic and genuine, and most importantly, transparent. So these are all hallmarks of being a genuine influencer. And when businesses are looking to engage with a person in this role, they're evaluating that, well, yes, they might have they might have less followers, but those followers are more engaged with the influencer and they're a more engaged audience, making the information that they're sharing more likely to be received positively. So this is all coming from a place of being grounded in what's important and individual, but also being relevant to the broader conversations we're having as a society. So especially when it comes to legal and law firms or, our business as well, we're looking to make sure we're putting our authentic selves forward, that we are putting, all of the parts of us forward, that, what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG, just like we talk about with online websites or editors. What you see is what you get. So if you see me on this, you will see me the same as in person with all the quirky things that are happening on this video, this is what you get when you meet me in person as well. And really, we have found that the more personal our content is and the more that it represents who we are as people, not just what we think we should be saying using the grammar that we learned, all through grade school and high school, that's the content that people respond to most, both on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms, our online website content, and really taking that forward and dedicating ourselves to being those people, to being genuine, to being transparent, to being honest about what it takes to do things, how we got from point A to point B. So genuine influencers, it's always hard to drop that middle syllable. Genuinefluencers was the second thing I learned this week, and also something on Robyn's list of 23 goals for 2023. And finally, the third thing is position zero, which I had to Google, I had to look up. It wasn't a term I had heard before. I had heard it used as other things, but I thought that it was really, really intriguing. So position zero, we've all heard position one as like the goal, the gold standard for where you want to rank on Google search results. Everyone wants to get to position one for, whatever their search terms are. But position zero, like that sounds better. And it is. Position zero is above the first result. It is organically sourced, so it's not something that you can purchase. And one example of gaining position zero that I saw is gaining position zero is like sitting on the pole position for the Indy 500. You get the inside track at the start, you have a better start position than your competitors, and this gives you a better chance of winning. So, better chance of winning the race, or if you are a marketer, a better chance of winning that click through. What you might know position zero as is featured snippets. So featured snippets are the answers that appear at the top. So if you say something like, where is there the most snow in the US right now? Because say you want to go skiing this weekend, which might be one of the three things that I'm really looking forward to this weekend. If you ask a question like that, Google will likely find that answer somewhere. And it will not just say, hey, go to this website and here's the meta description that they wrote 3 years ago for this website. Google is going to say, hey, I found this featured snippet in this post that tells me exactly where the most snowfall in the US is. And I'm going to share that with you in Google. So maybe that answers your question. Maybe you don't even need to click through. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, it gave me 5 options, but I'd really like to know what 10 options are. Or okay, that was really interesting. It answered my question, but I want to know more. So I'm going to click on this article. So that featured snippet or that position zero is really Google saying, this is the best, most authoritative answer to your question or your query that we can find. So that is what you're looking at. What they're including is generally the answer to the question from the relevant website, as well as the details of the web page and a link to your website. And you can get up to 2 times higher click-through rate if you are the featured snippet. So it's a really powerful space for you to occupy with your content. One of the best ways, although there are several ways to get to the featured snippet, is to answer a very specific question. What is legal marketing? What should I do after I'm in a car accident? Where is the highest snowfall in the US? All of those things are a very specific question. And if you are tailoring your content with the question and the answer in a very authoritative way, optimized for SEO, your chance of being the featured snippet is a lot higher. Things that also help are including images, lists, and tables that can pull right in to the featured snippet. It's often just one featured snippet, although occasionally there will be 2, but you're the first thing that people are seeing. As voice search becomes even more common, Google is using this featured snippet or this position zero as what it's telling you or the result for its one true answer or its response to the voice search. So if I say, who won the Indy 500 in 2022, Google is going to say from the website, I don't know, Indy500lovers.com, I see that Helio Castroneves won the Indy 500 in 2022. And I am so sorry, Indy friends. I was at the race and off the top of my head, I can't remember who won. So if that's wrong, please don't message me. I'll go look it up afterward. I apologize. But that's how featured snippets might work. So there's a few ways you can increase your chances of ranking in the position 0. And that is to focus on long tail keywords, to target question-based search terms, like I said earlier, like I talked about for a little bit, and to use a clear page structure with headers and paragraph tags. That's pretty basic SEO 101 that we talk with clients a lot about. Not only that, using headers and paragraph tags works on the back end as your website's being crawled, but organizing your content on your blog posts or resources or website pages in that way also makes it easier for people to read, to skim, to break down what they're looking for. And then the last thing is to keep your answers to questions around 54 to 48 words long. That featured snippet's only so long, and after that it cuts off. But you want to get as much content answering the question in that space as you can, so that way it is the authoritative answer. You don't want people to have to read 30 words of fluff to get to the last few words of the answer. So, and the best thing about position 0 or featured snippets is that the results are organically generated. So that was the 3 things that I learned this week from us at Team LISI. That was E.S.G, Genuinfluencers, and position 0. I appreciate everyone who tuned in today or is listening on our podcast. Our next live stream will be next Friday. LISI is live streaming most Fridays throughout the year, starting at 12:30 on LinkedIn. So join us next Friday, where it will be an Ask Me Anything. Lauren Forbes will be on with Robyn Addis, and they will be discussing Robyn's goals for 2023 and answering some questions about that. If you haven't seen Robyn's blog post yet, 23 and 23, check it out on our website, www.legalisi.com. And there are a ton of other resources as well. This will be live, if you missed it in the live stream, on our website in a few days. And you can always grab it on our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you back on our live streams in the coming weeks. Bye, everybody.
You have been listening to All the Things, the podcast from Legal Internet Solutions Incorporated, where we bring you all the things. Whether it's 3 things we learned, hearing from a legal marketing insider, an Ask Me Anything session, or that one more thing we've been dying to tell you all month long, but couldn't. That's all the things. Our next episode will be out in a week wherever you get your podcasts. And you can join us for the live events every Friday at 12:30 Eastern on our LinkedIn channel for our live stream, where we bring you all the things live.